It can be found online. Roll call tonight. We have Lori, Daniel, and Stu will be absent.
I'm actually here, Keith.
Oh, Stu, you're online?
I am. I snuck in.
Thank you, Stu. Appreciate you chiming in. Okay, item number 1 is adoption of agenda. Good motion.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Oh, we need to amend the agenda.
Yes, I'd like to amend the agenda to add a conversation about where to hold our board meetings.
You get a second?
Second.
All in favor of the amended agenda? Okay, it's unanimous. Stu, I assume that's fine? Yeah, we're good. That's unanimous. Okay, adoption to approve the amended agenda.
Move to adopt the amended agenda.
Linda?
Second.
Thank you, Timmy. All in favor?
Just a point of order. Where will that be then?
Well, we're going to go to 6C. To be under new business. Okay, moving on to item number 2, announcements. Do we have any announcements tonight? Amy?
Just letting people know that the craft fair is coming up in November and all inside spots at this point have been filled. However, we still do have outside spots available, which are larger than the 6x6 indoor spots. They are 10x10. We, at this point, only have 1 or 2 people who have been interested in the outside spots. So unless we get further interest, we will probably only hold inside. So if you want a spot, if you can get your name in quickly so we can decide whether to continue planning an outside area as well. I don't have it in front of me. Joanne, do you have it in front of you?
I'm just curious.
It's November.
We have plenty of time to let people know.
It's in November, so.
It's on a Saturday and it's, I think it's the 16th.
So it should be.
Sorry, I should have double checked that.
Yeah, we'll find. But we got plenty of time. Any other announcements? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 3 is property owner comments, 15 minutes total, 3 minutes per person. Do we have any property owner comments tonight?
You need a coin.
Yeah, you should flip a coin.
Hey, hi.
You got it.
I'm Barbara Michelson Harder, and I live at 172 Polo Park. And I always have trouble not speaking. I have trouble speaking this microphone. Anyway, I think one of my comments I was going to make, I don't think I can because it's on the agenda, but I looked over the lease renewal for the church. Can I say anything about that or not? I can. Okay.
Time's up. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, is this like the other meeting where we could like take, if we had more than one thing, we could come back? Okay, so my comment was I looked through it and on their website, they have a, once a month, they have a Sunday evening. It's called an evening piece, and I didn't see that on their contract. And I wanted to know if they paid extra for that time.
What's it called?
It's called Evening Peace, and it looks like it's once a month on a Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. And so I think it should be, I don't know. My question is, do they pay extra when they do that or not?
Right.
And you don't have to answer that right now. I kind of just wanted to let you know it was there.
We will definitely check into that.
Yeah, and I understand their church. Okay, first let me just say, I'm a Christian, okay? I have no problem with the Christian faith but I also think that we have a lot of people in this Sudden Valley that aren't really interested. And I look at their website and it says it's a community church. And my concern is them keeping within their boundaries. I know part of being in church, you do outreach and, and your whole point is to tell people about Christ because you're so happy about it. However, I think Sudden Valley we're private property. People who live here expect it to be, to not be inundated with outreach. And I just hope the church understands that even though they call themselves a community church, Sudden Valley, and I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people in the church that live in Sudden Valley. I don't know it's just something I feel that they really need to be aware of. My husband was at the dog park one day and somebody said, hey, come to my church. And he's like, yeah, thanks. But, it's just not, I don't know. Anyway, that's my point. They just need to be aware of it. They need to be aware that this is private property and they need to act accordingly. That's just my thing. Okay.
That is actually, now you are out of time.
I've used up my 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, though. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Nancy?
Nancy Alionak, 4 Sandalwood Circle. Thanks to the money, support, and the lobbyists of the Community Associations Institute, or CAI, we have a newer, stronger version of the Washington Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act, or WCOA. Before CAI efforts produced WCOA, members could and sometimes did reject dues and assessment increases. Our bylaws required 60% of all returned ballots to be marked yes to pass the increases. After WCOA, it became virtually impossible for members to reject increases because all ballots counted, whether those ballots were returned or not. Unreturned ballots count as yes votes, as well as returned ballots actually marked yes. That is how the 2020 dues increase passed, with 1,263 no votes and 409 yes votes. So what does the new improved Community Associations Institute version of WCOA do to us? Voting for the Nominations and Elections Committee and the Architectural Control Committee will be no more. Thanks to CAI lobbying, the new improved WCOA eliminated the bylaw that gave members the right to choose those committee members. As of January 1st, 2028, those 2 committees must be appointed by the board. Under the new law, all committees of the association must be appointed by the board. Committees authorized to exercise any power reserved to the board must include at least 2 members who have the exclusive voting power for that committee. Big change. We will be forced to support continued Community Associations Institute lobbying against our interests if CAI membership is reinstated in Sudden Valley.
Thank you. Your time expired.
Say what?
Your time expired.
Oh, yeah, I'm finished, but thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
I assume there's no more property owner comments tonight. So moving on to item number 4, general manager's report. Joanne?
Thank you. During August, Sudden Valley residents continued to enjoy the parks, beaches, pools, and trails in force, while staff focused on getting ready for fall. I'd like first to talk about the town hall budget presentation. The annual budget town hall meeting was held on August 17th and was well attended. The meeting began at 1:30 and continued to almost 5 p.m., with 2 hours of that time dedicated to answering members' questions. This meeting used a hybrid format, with members able to attend both in person and via Zoom. And members who attended via Zoom were also allowed to ask questions. I feel that the format worked pretty well. And we also streamed it via YouTube for people who expect to find us in that location on the web. As always, a recording is available of that meeting, and we've had 88 people access it so far. Pool use and revenue for the pools is my next topic. The pools continue to be extremely busy in August, although cooler weather affected turnout on several of the days of the month. The high temperatures experienced over the Labor Day weekend caused very, very large crowds. And at one point on Sunday, there was a waiting list for more than 4 hours. Cumulatively, SVCA has collected $23,222 in pool revenue at the end of August, compared to just $17,502 collected at the same time last year. This represents an increase of 33% over what we did in 2023. Because members are not charged fees to use the pool, this revenue came from the sale of swim passes to non-residents and from pool rentals. Given the high volume of use this year, the board may want to consider limiting the number of non-resident swim passes that are sold next year. That would help to keep the crowds in control when the temperature exceeds 85 degrees. Racket sports courts have reopened. The newly resurfaced racket sport courts, which I'm now calling them because tennis courts doesn't cover the whole pickleball thing. But they opened in the rec corridor on August the 20th. And as they reopened, we had a couple walk on and play tennis. So that was very rewarding. And since then, the community has been using them consistently, at least several people each day. Although we posted signs asking skateboards and other wheeled equipment to stay off the courts, we could tell from looking at it that the new surface was being damaged. So a padlock was installed. The key to the lock is held at the rec front desk, and anyone who wants to play tennis or pickleball can request that the courts be opened. There's always someone at the front desk, or there's a bell, and we so far haven't had anybody have to wait. We have requested a quote from our security company, that's Guardian, for a new card reader and a security camera to be installed at the courts. That would make it easier for members to access it.
Quick question. Do we have fines for violations?
There's a general fine in place for disobeying signs and such. So now that since it's posted, we could issue a fine for that. ACC submissions is my last topic before the capital projects update. ACC has had an extremely busy month, reviewing a total of 44 submissions at the 2 scheduled August meetings and a record 40 submissions at the first September meeting that was held last week. This volume of work keeps both the committee members and support staff extremely busy. They go on site tours, have to prepare an agenda, and send acknowledgement letters to each of those submissions. So that's 84 letters that have to go out, and they're complicated to prepare. September submission volume to date is much less, and so we expect to catch up quickly and be able to work on other administrative projects this month. But it's been quite a slog. The whole summer has been very busy with ACC. Moving on to the capital projects update under active projects. I'm excited to tell you that the Area Z maintenance shop will be occupied before the end of September. We've had extensive delays from PSE not wanting to connect the electric, but we got that sorted out, and we're just waiting for the final inspections from the county. They can't inspect the electric system till it's hooked up to the actual electric. As you heard, tennis court resurfacing is complete. It's still under active projects. because there are punch lists, not lunch lists, as it says. Obviously, I wrote this when I was hungry. There are still a few punch list items that we're waiting to check off, and we expect all of those to be completed before the end of September. On the turf care building, design and permitting, the design is complete and we're waiting for a permit to be issued. On the adult center HVAC and hot water heater replacement, work is scheduled to begin in September and it will be completed within a few weeks. The clubhouse HVAC design, the design is complete and we're waiting on a structural design. We expect to be able to submit a permit application in September. Fence replacement project, the work is on schedule and we expect that to complete in October as planned. On the 2024 roads and drainage project, work began on May 29th and we do expect everything to be done by the end of September. That'll be the complete list of culverts that was submitted with the initial request for funding. Cold Spring drainage, again, that will be completed this month, September. Design and permitting for the bridges, the design is underway and we expect that to be completed next month in October. There's one project on hold. That's the Barnate siding and we're waiting for the structural analysis and evaluation to be completed. And it's scheduled to begin next week on September 16th. The dance barn and the fitness center will be closed for the entire week of September 16th through 20th. That's Monday through Friday. However, we expect to reopen for the weekend and in the following week. So we're compressing all the work to happen both upstairs and downstairs in that one week. We have 5 completed projects: the Marina boat launch, the turf care cart paths, the turf care HVAC repairs, the rekeying of facilities, and one new one hits the list this month, the clubhouse and adult center painting. That project was completed on time and on budget. The remainder of the report summarizes the activities of the individual departments. Any questions?
Sonia?
So when you're recommending that the board reconsider or consider limiting the number of non-resident swim passes based on that a couple of times there were people waiting, how do you know that that was due to non-resident people? How do you know it wasn't just an overabundance of residences who wanted to utilize that pool because it was hot?
As you're probably aware, we have no way of knowing which people were accessing the pool at different times of day. We have no way of doing it decisively because our key card access system just controls one door. And many people pass through that door for many different activities. For example, the door that you scan your card at leads you into the fitness center, but also the multipurpose room, the changing rooms for the pool, and the sauna. So the data that we might collect from the key card access system for the pools is not it's not determinative. It's just indicative. The reason I made that suggestion, and I didn't say to do it, I said you should consider potentially doing it because that is one way that you have of controlling access to the pool and the volume of access to the pool. I mean, it's take it or leave it. It's a suggestion.
Yeah, my concern is that it kind of gets in people's minds and then we're cutting back on more non-dues revenue. The other thing is a lot of pools, they schedule time, like they'll have like ABC groups, and it may be one of those things. You buy your pass, you're in group A, you're in group B, you're in group C, and then you are controlling the times that the number of people that can utilize the pool maximum and the times that they can utilize the pool. I know, I mean, I've belonged to other HOAs and that's how it was handled because there was a lot of children. So that's something to consider. There may be another way before, I just would like to recommend don't jump to eliminating that before we try to find another solution. And then the other question is just on the, you completed the rekeying of the facilities and I just am wondering, is there like any control on those keys? Because one of the reasons that, as you're aware that we needed to rekey everything is that there were master keys that were floating around with, private individuals and business owners in this community. And we didn't have any control over the master key. Anybody could come in this building at any time.
The keys were issued according to a matrix that designated certain roles needing certain levels of access. So it's need to know only, so to speak. People only have access associated with their particular key to the areas where their work takes them. Every key has a unique serial number on it, and keys are signed out to individuals. They have to sign for those keys, and it's part of the termination process to recover the keys. And so far, that's worked pretty well. We did have a lot of seasonal staff leaving in the golf shop in particular. We also had a lot of seasonal staff here in the rec center leaving, but we didn't issue them keys in the first place. The keys that are common use, there are 2 here in the rec center, have air tags permanently attached to them. And it's part of the opening and closing shift procedures to check that the key is in place. So we've taken the precautions that we can. Nothing is foolproof, but it's much more tightly controlled. One person, the general manager, me, issues keys, and they're in a locked area with a log where all the signatures are maintained.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah, getting back to the issue of crowding in the pool, another potential solution might be to increase the fees that might decrease non-resident utilization and increase income.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And Sonia, your ideas about how other HOAs handle it, all welcome. I know that we have many swim areas, or certainly more than just the pool. We have the main pool, we have the quiet pool, and we have AM and PM beaches, which were also packed that day. I know that a 30% increase in revenue is pretty significant.
Yeah.
A lot of that was driven, I think, by swim lessons, but again, our data, we don't have great data to base any of this on. We also collected money from pool rentals, which, based on the board's decision regarding the rules around exclusive use rentals for pool and shared use rentals for the pool, will be less next year by definition. We also get revenue from the Bellingham Bay swim team, which has increased quite significantly from when I first started. It was, I think, $1,500 the year before I started, and the next year I charged them $3,000. And this past year, I think it was about $4,500. So we're also seeing increases in revenue there. But I do know that as more and more people come out and use the facilities, I hear consistently concern expressed by community members that non-members are sort of overtaking members in their use of amenities. And I agree, we don't have great data to support or deny that, but it is something I think that bears watching, because we do want to favor our members' use of the amenities that they support with their dues.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rick. Any additional comments? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 5, is committee reports, starting with the Architectural Control Committee. And unfortunately, Daniel's not here tonight, so we'll move to 5B, is Document Review Committee.
Hi, we had no meetings in August, and I'm waiting for the later on in September or October to bring the board policies back that were reviewed.
Thank you, Linda. Finance, Jim.
Yeah, we've had a pretty quiet time. We've touched bases a couple of times with Cliff Moore, who is attending tonight. He will be meeting with us in closed session as we discuss next steps. But we have received 27 applications, I believe, and we have 6 potential finalists that we'll be discussing in closed session as we move forward with final interviews.
Thank you, Rick. Long range planning.
We did not have any meetings either.
Thank you, AJ. Nominations and elections, Rob?
Our committee's been working with the GM and putting the ballot materials together, working with getting those things to Unelect. I especially want to thank Joanne for working really hard on those things for us. We are a smaller committee, as you know, and there are some open seats. So it's been, we really appreciate that. And Linda Bradley also as our secretary was involved to kind of help us with some of the editing. So we'll have a chance to look at those materials tonight. Our committee will be meeting on Monday at 6:30. We'll be discussing further laying out of the candidate forums, the meet and greet, and we are ensuring that through our own personal scheduling and whatnot, that we will be available to pick up ballots out of the ballot box. We have to have 2 committee members with our GM when we open those and seal everything back up. So we just want to make sure there is no snafus, that there's committee members are available during those timeframes. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any safety committee?
Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to meet with the safety committee either. Summer's been really busy, but there are a lot of things we would like to be looking at. Hopefully, we can get busier in the fall and ramp it up next year. We started in the spring when everybody was getting really busy with kids coming back to, out of school, but really hoping we'll continue to have volunteers for that committee and look at all the issues that we have in this community.
A quick question for me. Any update on like the school crossing?
We started looking at that, and I know Colleen had some ideas, but with schedules, we just really haven't had a chance to. But we really need to start looking at school crossings. That's an important issue.
So in maintenance, we've started to review the list of where the different stops are. And we have set aside, identified in our budget, some funding that can be used to purchase sandwich boards that warn drivers that there's a school bus stop ahead. Since the school bus stops, some of them change every year, we didn't think that installing permanent signs was a good thing. So if we can get volunteers from the different spots, perhaps a parent or guardian or even someone who lives in that area, convenient to the school bus stop, if they would be willing to put the sign out when there's children gathering in the morning to be picked up, we can support that initiative by supplying the sandwich boards. And we've sourced lighter ones. The current ones that we put at the gate are massive and they're very heavy. So these lighter ones would be a little bit easier to carry, and we'd assign them to somebody and then pick them up at the end of the school year to be reused next year. So if anyone's listening and wants to volunteer to put out a sign for their school bus stop, you can just call the front office at 360-734-6430 and we'll get you a sign.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Oh, we're also putting out gate signs to remind people that school's back in session, and you'll see an ad in this month's views reminding people to drive more carefully as well. And the ad is the same text or the same design that we're going to use on the gate sign. So hopefully we'll start to get some traction.
Can I just add something? Because I saw, since you guys are talking about it, one of the suggestions had been to add speed bumps. And again, I know we're not actually talking about that, but speed bumps are very costly and there's no evidence at all that they actually slow people down. As a matter of fact, what they found is that people tend to speed up even faster. So I'm just throwing that out there for your committee because I saw it on the list of recommendations. That's really not recommended when you actually look at what cities are doing with those speed bumps.
Yeah, I also remember like AJ brought that up, I think a couple of years ago, that actually some places had lawsuits over the speed bumps and removed them. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Linda.
Yep.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that with putting speed bumps in, the school district actually changes locations of stops some years. I know my daughter has one right by her house, and at one point it was across the street and a little bit further up, and now it's closer to their corner, and the kids don't have to cross over Sudden Valley Drive. So you're always having them change. So otherwise we'd end up being a real bumpy community.
Yeah, that's why we thought the portable signs might be the best thing. Plus, if you see things moving around on the road, they tend to get your attention as opposed to if they're always there, over time you ignore them.
Point. Okay, moving on to item number 6, new business. 6A is approve the printer proof of election booklet and ballot materials. You guys all have a copy of that, I assume, either electronically or physically. You had time to review those over some time.
So
So-
we're really hoping that a second, third set of eyes can, is there any misspellings? Is there a date that's incorrect?
So the first piece is the outside envelope, and you guys had seen this previously.
Yes.
Are there any changes to this design?
Eye catching, look good.
Yeah, okay, so the next thing is the next one is the business reply envelope. Did anyone see anything there? That one seemed very straightforward to me. And we have the front of the secret ballot envelope. It says secret ballot envelope. But I don't know if you all caught it. It's going to be printed back on blue this year. No more pink envelopes. They're blue.
That's great.
All right, and now we're up to the actual election booklet itself, and I believe Linda has some changes.
So after looking at the back of the ballot, going to be sending out something unique this year. We used to have only one of those. They're your voting instructions. However, there are now 2 of them, one for Canadian voters and one for US voters. And understanding that, I originally got some language from Rob to put in the methods of voting. And I believe we need to amend page 16 of the voter ballot to match the back of the instructions on the ballot, the 2 separate ballots. Originally, there was only one date that said, if you need, let's see, replacement ballots, if you need to replace your ballot, your mail-in ballot, or do not receive an initial ballot by September 30th, call Unelect Election Services, duplicate ballot request call center gives the phone number. Operators are available throughout the balloting period. Out-of-country owners need replacements no later than October. It said 17th, but that's been changed to 15th on these back of the ballot directions, and US owners no later than October 23rd. So we should have those changed. I think we also need to completely change that whole section to basically read US owners. If you need to replace your mail-in ballot or do not receive an initial ballot by October 2nd, or Canadian owners by September 30th, 2024, call Unelect Election Services, duplicate ballot request call center. Operators are available throughout the balloting period. Out-of-country owners need to request replacements no later than October 15th, and US owners no later than October 23rd. And somebody said rather than out-of-country, I should just refer to Canadian owners because that's what it's been changed at to. And then there's also on the very final page, and I don't know, it's back one, on page 17 at the bottom of the page, it said, if you need to replace your ballot or do not receive an initial ballot by September 30th, call Unelect Election Services, blah, blah, blah. That should probably read, if you need to replace your ballot or do not receive an initial ballot by September 30th, 2024, Canada, US owners, October 2nd, 2024, call the call center, and then it ends there. But I think we need to make sure that that matches what it says on the back of the ballots regarding voting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Rick?
So for Canadians calling that number, they have to dial a 1 as well, right?
Have no
you do.
idea.
Yeah, so that might need to be, I don't know if it's necessary. Canadians probably know that, but maybe to identify that it's a US number and
Any 800 number, either country. Do we know for sure that the 800 number works from Canada?
that
Not
I,
all of them do not.
that
Not all
I
of them do.
that I don't know. That I can't even, I've never called it.
I-
Last year, we
believe it-
received many calls, or Unilect received many calls from Canada, so
So it is-
it's working.
Some 800 numbers work from Canada, others go, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with Joanne that there was a lot of calls into the 800 number last year.
Good to know. Thank you.
Good question.
Any additional changes? Linda's comments?
I just think we need to match the voting instructions on the back of the ballot with
wanna
what
make
we're
a vote?
saying in our booklet.
Speaking from Annie, I would agree with Linda, right?
I agree too.
I'd like to make a motion to amend our documents to guarantee that the voting instructions for SVCA, the 2 forms on the back of the ballots, match the instructions in the voter pamphlet.
Second,
And what about the signature?
Go ahead, Sonia.
Linda can do it. We just,
So in all of our documents that we've gotten from Unilect, there's one real, not doesn't very much, but on the back of each return envelope, there is a place where our names are there. There is a small barcode there, and there is a place where the members sign. And Unilect has not sent us a copy of that. And for me, that's the most important part of our ballot that we get. And I don't know why they haven't sent one yet.
I can ask tomorrow. I don't have it at this time, and Linda's correct. We did receive that last year.
yeah.
They hadn't sent this previous to tonight. Sorry, I'm not near the mic. They've sent a copy showing where the address would appear on the back of the election booklet, and then this will be facing out of the window envelope to address it. But this barcode is for the post office.
Yeah.
Yeah, it allows the post office systems to scan the addresses. And so this is very different than what Linda's talking about. And she's right. We had it last year. We don't have it this year. So I'll get it tomorrow.
Okay,
So everybody can take a look at it. You can send it in an email to everybody. I just want everybody to see what it looks like. It's a really important part of initially identifying that's what Unilect uses the scan to scan in our, each one and every one of our ballots.
All right, so the motion on the table was to amend the voter pamphlet to match the Canadian American Linda's corrections. All in favor? And it'll be worded better. That's unanimous.
Fix it tomorrow.
See his hand up. That's unanimous.
We'll use Linda's wording.
Yeah.
Okay. So then next up are the 2 different versions of the voter instructions that appear on the back of the ballot. One is for Canadian residents and one is for US residents. Are there any changes to those pages?
Hearing none.
Okay. And then the ballot itself. We caught one change in the ballot before it was presented to you, and that is we had previously referred to architectural control candidates as directors, and we changed that to each committee member will have a 3-year term. So we caught that.
Any additional changes or comments on that? Hearing none.
Okay, so I'll get the example of the barcode and address formatting that goes and signature line that goes on the back of the envelope. And then that will be forwarded out when I receive it to the BOD email distribution. At this time, do you need to take an electronic vote to approve it, or do you just want to be informed of it?
I think if they just send us the same layout that they did last year, that ought to suffice, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and then remember, there's one final check that we got back this year that was not present last year or the year before, and that is because we have a local printing and mailing company. I will be going on the date when they start printing to see the first pages off of the printer to confirm that they're being printed correctly. And any board member who would like, or committee member, and any committee member who would like to attend, I'll announce when that window is. And then we can go as a delegation to approve the final materials.
That's great.
Good. Thank you, Joanne. Linda, did you have something?
I'm talking to myself.
Okay, no worries.
Happy about blue envelopes.
Okay. All right, moving on to 6B, CTK Lease Renewal. Joanne?
Thank you. So the purpose of this memo was to ask the board to approve a lease extension for Christ the King Community Church, or CTK. On February of 2023, the board approved a new lease agreement with CTK to replace an agreement that had been enforced between January 1st of 2018 and December 31st of 2022. The new lease term began on January 1st, 2023 and ends on December 31st, 2024. The agreement included a renewal clause which gave CTK the ability to request renewal for 2 one-year periods. CTK submitted a request for renewal that was attached to the memo on August 23rd. The board must now either accept or reject that renewal, and if you accept it, then set the rent for the first extension year. The current lease, of which I provided a copy, defines the lease term of January 21st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024 with the option to renew. It sets the amount of rents paid. In 2023, that was $1,100 per month or $13,200 annually. In 2024, the amount increased to $1,200 per month or $14,400 annually. The lease also defines the areas of the community center which will be used by CTK each Sunday. They are the dance barn, multipurpose room A, multipurpose room B, the game room, and 2 storage areas, one that's adjacent to multipurpose room A and one that's adjacent to this dance barn. The lease also defines 5 special events for which CTK has granted use of the dance barn at no additional charge. That does not include the monthly night Sunday piece or whatever Barbara was saying, so that would need to be an addition. Evening piece, sorry. But there's a 5th Sunday potluck, Mother's Day service, Father's Day service, chili cook-off, and men's group. The lease also establishes that if CTK wishes to use any other SVCA facilities, they must request permission to do so and pay 50% of the usual member rate for renting that facility. The lease establishes that both parties may terminate the lease with only 6 days notice, 60 days, sorry, more than 6. It establishes that SVCA has the right to require CTK to vacate the premises at any time for any reason with no penalty, and defines the usual terms for use, care, and maintenance of the rented facilities, as well as remedies for default. So overall, CTK has complied with the terms of the lease and provides activities which are enjoyed by a portion of our community. So for those reasons, I recommend accepting their renewal and setting rent at $1,300 per month or $15,600 annually.
All right, we got a motion, move that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve a 1-year extension of the current CTK lease agreement with a monthly rent of $1,300.
Second.
Who's second?
Me.
All right, questions, comments? Start with Sonia.
So there are quite a few events that are occurring in our common areas that I'm wondering, so just like on the weekend of the July 4th weekend, on July 7th, for 2 hours, they had United Lake Day at the marina that invited all 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders and their family to come for a day of fun, swimming, paddleboarding, basketball, volleyball, and more. How much were they charged for that? How much are they being charged for these regular play date events that they're doing outside on the playground on a regular basis outside the barn during the summer, at the time when children are coming and going from from this facility and also the swimming pool. You know, we are getting a lot of negative feedback from the community regarding this church being non-affirming, and the fact that the pastor has been very clear that he felt like Sudden Valley needed Jesus. And a lot of people, including myself, find that offensive. I helped negotiate this agreement based on the fact that I was assured, number one, that any of these additional times they would be charged and they would be kept, you know, kind of outside of the HOA common area facilities. And if they use them, they would be treated just like anyone else that was renting that area. But that's not what's happening. We're right back to where we were. They treat it as if it's theirs. And it feels like they're not getting permission from anyone to be utilizing all of these common areas. They are baptizing people at the lake. They were doing it in our pool, which we stopped. Now it's at the lake. These are, you know, when you talk about these places and it's busy and blah, 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 but they're inviting all of their, you know, their church fellows from Bellingham and everybody else to come to our facilities, but they're not paying for it. And the other thing is, you know, one of the reasons that we put in there that we could end that lease in 60 days was because the hope was that we were going to spend more time listening to the community and allow more community feedback on how they feel about having a non-affirming church as a tenant, because we were already at that time starting to get negative feedback. And for them to, it doesn't matter that they say if everyone's welcome. The fact is that the tenants of that church are not affirming. And like I said, we're an HOA. It's a secular community, and we need to think about that. For that reason, I'm not going to vote in favor of renewing this, because I don't believe that there's going to ever be any time that anyone takes a moment to listen to what the community feedback is. So I'm going to say no.
Thank you, Sonia. Yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
So, thank you. I don't know of a way to charge anyone for using a space that is open to the public. Anyone at any time can drive down to AMPM Beach. And if someone chooses to stand in the water and have a companion speak words over them, I don't know how I could control that. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand that many people share your feeling, but there's no administrative way for me to control that.
It
Just-
would be no different than an
Anyway,
event.
it's just like if the ladies of Gate 5 decided to have, you know, meet up and all, you know, go sunbathing on AMPM Beach at the same time, I wouldn't charge them for that either. And they could post it to a Facebook group. So I'm just saying that while I understand the concern that it appears to be that, you know, that they're using all these spaces, it's anyone can use them. And so there is no administrative means to control that.
Rob?
I just want to point out that, yes, if the church was, you know, wanted to rent the dance barn for something on a date that was beyond when in their lease here for it on a day, yeah, that I understand that. But for the use of the playgrounds and whatnot, you know, facts and data matter. So I don't know the number, but there are many people in that who come to and worship in that church who live here. They're HOA members. So if they want to use the swing set, they're members. They have every right to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
We are not talking about people doing that. They're not just a few members. These are events.
Sonia, you have not been recognized.
We had Linda first. We'll get back. Go ahead, Linda.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask the general manager a question. When there have been events like the Easter egg hunt, I know a couple years ago that became a great issue of contention. hasn't the church reached out to you to ask for approval of whether or not they can have a separate event that's not listed on here and be charged for it or pay extra or whatever and get your approval of having that event?
Yes, the Easter egg hunt, I did not charge them for it because they weren't charging anyone. And it was free and open to all children in the community. So it was I deemed it a community service. Plus I didn't know how to rent them the green. Since we don't rent it to anybody else, there is no fee established for that. Anytime they've wanted to use an extra room for meetings or something like that, they come to me and they get charged the rate at 50%. So they've complied with the terms of the lease.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia?
So we have had people approach the board that wanted to rent our outdoor spaces for events, right? And we come up with a dollar amount for what that is. We have had fly-ins at the marina. Those are arranged events. They take up space, they take up parking, they have to be planned. Same thing with the fishing event, I forgot what it is, the coho thing. Yeah, those are arranged events, even though they're in the open space. These are events. These are like, they're having barbecues and inviting, who knows how many people. And especially the weekend of the 4th of July. I mean, to me, why aren't we then saying we need to make a determination of how we handle outdoor events? If someone wants to have an event, it says on the rental agreement under 50 and under, right? And then, so if it's over 50, it seems to me that we need to have a different fee or whatever it is. If it's a commercial event, or a promotional event, it needs to have a different fee. There needs to be some determination of how we handle that, or otherwise everybody will show up and say, I was just visiting with my neighbor, but I'm promoting my real estate business in the process. Or what if the Church of Satan decided that they might have a candy handout or something? Would we be okay with that? Because it was, they were open up to the entire community.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah, I'm done.
Jaime?
Hey, we're talking about a lease and you're talking about areas that we don't even rent out. So I would suggest, I would like to call the vote, please, and vote on the lease.
All right, so the motion on the table is moved that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve a one-year extension of the current CTK lease agreement with the monthly rent of $1,300. The motion was read by me and seconded by Jaime. All in favor? Sending the lease for Christ the King Church.
Can you find out what Stu voted?
6. Okay, we have 6-4 opposed. Sonia and AJ.
Stu
Stu
is 4. Okay, he's part of the 6. Just confirming that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 6C. This is the amended agenda item. It's a board location meeting. So Rick, your motion, I'll let you.
Yes, thank you. At the September 5th meeting, I was out of town and attended by Zoom. Because of I think the warm weather, the meeting was held downstairs. My observation was that the sound and video were tremendously better in that smaller room. And I'm assuming that was because our sound system and video equipment is designed more for a smaller room. So I think until we've had discussions about the sound system in this room, and I know when I have gone back to listen to recorded sessions in this room, sometimes it's very difficult to hear and understand the discussion. And I think for everyone's benefit, the best sound and recording that we can have should be aspired to. So I think until we have a better sound system here in this room, I would respectfully suggest that we meet downstairs until that time. Okay, so with that background, I'd like to make a motion that the board meet in that, is it multi-purpose room, until a better sound system for the dance barn comes into use.
Second.
Rob,
Okay, discussion. Start with Sonia.
Are we getting a new sound system before the AGM?
Probably not, but good
Right.
question.
Right. So the other part of that would be how many members can fit in that room?
No, for like the AGM and things like that will still be up here. We're talking like our regular board meetings, like.
But I'm saying how many people can attend. So let's say, for instance, we have a meeting and we have, I don't know how many people will fit in that room. I wasn't there.
About 20.
About 20. So let's say there's 30 people that show up one night and you're set up down there. What happens?
standing room only.
I mean, I've never seen 30 people. I don't even know how many chairs we have now.
If we look downstairs, I believe there's a sign over one of those doors down there that says how many people are allowed in that room.
There's still a seat. I get it. I had the same reservation, but I heard a lot of people say the audio was so much better and the video was so much better. I was like, it's not a bad idea.
So one of the reasons I'm concerned is when they used to have meetings at the firehouse, that was intentional. Like they would choose any meeting that they felt like that members would participate and show up and speak up. They would move the meetings over to the firehouse because it was a limited number of seats and it wasn't very welcoming for the whole community. So I just want to be sure that we don't get into that.
Thank you. No, go ahead, Joanne first, and then we'll go to Rob.
As a corollary, the board might consider saying that people could participate in the board meetings via Zoom. And that if we allowed comments via Zoom and people to join on Zoom as opposed to just watching like TV on YouTube, that might get around that space constraint and make actually people really happy because a lot of people have asked for that for some time.
So with that technology, it'll work better. Zoom will work better.
Point of order, a couple of us have had our hands up. We could be recognized.
Yeah, but I had the floor and I was asking a question. She
you
was
did?
responding to my question.
Oh,
Yes, she was. I asked a specific question. How many people will fit in that room? You're so rude.
No, we're all right. Yeah, I know. Well, we'll look later. We'll be down there tonight. We'll see how many people can fit in there. Rob, you had your hand up. Go over.
thank you. I'm just kind of tired of this meeting becoming a conversation rather than people being.
Point of order, Mr. President. He always stops discussion. I'm tired of you constantly stopping our discussions because you think they're not worthy of you.
Thank you. Who else had their hand up? Did I see anyone else with? Timey?
Okay, I felt that, were you done, Rob? Just making sure.
It's okay.
Okay. We had plenty of room for as many people as we have had here. The second issue is we're not going to move it back and forth other than big things like the AGM or a town hall. So this is not something that we're trying to manipulate. And second, it's definitely the temperatures are better down there. And as you know, the winter gets cold up here. And also if the sound is better and people are happier, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Rick and then Linda. Okay, we'll go Linda first.
I think the only thing that I would add to Rick's motion is that to move the board monthly meetings so that we're specifying that we're talking about our regular monthly meetings down to the multipurpose room. I would just add the word monthly.
Nice, Linda.
Friendly amendment, I'd accept that. So yeah, I also agree that that room probably would lend itself to Zoom participation, and that would alleviate the space issue and member participation without having to be here physically. So I think it would address both of those issues.
Can we make a second
so-
motion to that? Like we do the first motion and then you make that as a second motion?
Oh, um, you could do that, I guess, you know.
We're just going to be amending the original motion. You're going to amend the original motion to include monthly meetings.
Monthly meetings, okay. And
Yeah, I
then
just-
also amend it to explore feasibility of including Zoom capabilities
Yep.
To allow
and allow.
member participation via Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly something we should discuss.
What she said.
Not to limit the time, but yeah, I think it kills two birds with one stone.
Have you got that, Linda?
You got that?
Yeah.
Do you want to,
Okay.
do you want to read it as amended, just so we know what we're
All right,
voting
so I
on?
think we've heard enough. Let's move to vote on this.
Sonia had her hand
Well,
up.
I just wanted to,
Go ahead,
to not
Sonia.
read we're exploring it, but that we're actually doing it.
It worked last time. We could hear you very clearly.
Yeah.
And we were just doing it with miscellaneous equipment that had. We can even get affordably better equipment so that member participation via Zoom will be enhanced.
Okay, so I think Sonia was getting at, I said explore. Maybe I should say explore and implement if feasible. How about that?
Explore and implementing.
How about implement?
Yeah, we
Okay.
know it's feasible, so
Okay.
we can just go ahead.
Implement.
Can I'll do the measure? Or do you want to do it, Rick?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Move board monthly meetings to the multipurpose room until better sound system comes into use and implement Zoom capable participation, member participation.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, Rick.
Good suggestion,
Rick. Good
Joanne.
suggestion, Rick.
Good job, team.
Okay, now we move to closed session at 8:03 PM to discuss personnel. And then we'll be downstairs.
Move to closed session.
Second.
Thank you. Favor? Unanimous. I've only met him a couple times. Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah. No, that's. Are you heathen? Yeah, no, I get you. It's interesting. I never even saw that. What's that? Okay, all right. I was just curious because it might be worth it because it's an issue. So, can't hurt. It's hot.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna-
Oh, he is behind.
I'm just gonna tell them coming out of closed session, directly talking to these three candidates. Whenever you're ready. Are we recording now? Oh, okay. So we're back in session at 10:14. Coming out of closed session, the board has directed Prothman to bring forth three general manager candidates number 1, 2, and 3. That's it. Meeting adjourned at 10:15.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ah.
Yeah,